Welcome to this video where we'll talk about news and racing games, covering three main topics. Today, we're going to talk first about Tokyo Extreme Racer, which is finally coming out tomorrow on PlayStation 5, along with a new update that adds lots of cars and plenty of new features. We'll also talk about Test Drive Limited, because its publisher, Nacon, which owns the Kiloton studio developing the game, is facing major financial difficulties that could, in the most extreme cases, prevent them from continuing its development. And then, we'll talk about Maverick Games. Maverick Games is a studio that was founded by former developers of Forza Horizon, who left the Forza Horizon studio sometime after the release of Horizon 5. They were supposed to develop a big game that was meant to rival Forza Horizon. And you'll see that things are absolutely not going as planned, and it's actually going pretty badly. So we're going to talk about all that. I hope this little video about racing game news will interest you. If that's the case, as usual, I count on you to show it by leaving a like and subscribing for the next videos. It's always nice, so let's start this video by talking a little bit about Tokyo Extreme Racer, which has been out on PC for a few months and is finally coming to PlayStation 5 tomorrow, February 26th, 2026. Let me explain the game for those unfamiliar with this franchise from the 90s. It's a semi-open world racing game set on the highways circling Tokyo, in which you'll be driving licensed cars, so real brands like Toyota, Honda, and Nissan. Cars that you can fully customize and upgrade, with which you'll have to beat hundreds of opponents on the highways. Tokyo. I've made quite a few videos about this game on my YouTube channel, so feel free to check them out if you want to get a better idea of the concept of Tokyo Extreme Racer. What you need to remember is that it's coming to PlayStation 5 as soon as tomorrow, and it's coming with an update that's now available on all platforms, including PC, which adds new features like, for example, the replay. That means after you've finished a race, you can watch it again and save it if you want to watch it later. There's also a new playlist system that's been added to the game so you can customize the music you want to listen to. And then, there's a whole bunch of new vehicles that have been added to the game. There are 5 new cars coming out with this update, and 2 of them are from Toyota. They used to be traffic cars you would see driven by NPCs, pretty standard, pretty ordinary cars. But players insisted that they be added to the game, that they be customizable and drivable, and that's now been done, with the new Toyota Dyna and the Toyota Vantown Ace. And then, some more conventional cars are also being added. The 2002 Honda Accord, the 2004 Honda Fit, and the 2015 Mazda CX-3. All of this is being added to the game for free. Now, let's talk about what's happening at Nacon. Nacon is a French company that publishes and funds the development of games like Test Drive Unlimited Solar Crown, but also Gear Club Unlimited 3, which was released a few days ago, or even the upcoming Endurance Motorsport series. Nacon is facing a big challenge. Major financial crisis, although it's not entirely their fault. It comes from the company that owns Nacon, which is part of a larger company called Big Ben that makes products like PlayStation controllers. Big Ben had to pay back a large debt. They were counting on the banks to get a new loan to pay it off, but at the last minute, the banks refused the loan. As a result, Big Ben no longer has enough money to pay certain installments, to pay its investors, and the group has to start a financial restructuring to save money and free up a little bit of cash. Since Big Ben owns Nacon, when Big Ben goes down, so does Nacon, and that pushed Nacon to file for insolvency proceedings this morning. Now, you have to understand that this isn't bankruptcy. The company keeps operating while the courts or the tribunal look for a solution to restructure the debts. So, in the short term, it shouldn't change much when it comes to the development of Solar Crown updates, or even the PC port of Gear Club Unlimited 3, or the release of Endurance Motorsport series. However, it could change in the medium and long term. There's a hearing scheduled for March, during which the court will decide whether or not to freeze Nacon's debts, for a period that could last up to 18 months. If the court agrees, activity at Nacon will continue, and the games and updates currently in development will keep being developed. It's possible that during this period, there will be some internal restructuring, meaning layoffs to save a bit of money. This could mean less frequent or smaller updates for Test Drive Unlimited Solar Crown. If the court refuses, things will become much more complicated for Nacon. There won't be anything freezing their debts, to put it simply. So Nacon will have to quickly find a new investor who can bring in cash to pay off the debts. In those cases, the studios could continue to operate more or less normally, depending on the scale of the investments. Or they could negotiate with their creditors, and maybe that could also lead to layoffs. If their investors, for example, ask them to reduce game development costs, well, that could lead to bankruptcy, and then it's hard to know what could happen, because even if Nacon went bankrupt, KT Racing, the developer of Test Drive Solar Crown, could be acquired by another publisher. However, this wouldn't necessarily end Test Drive. For Endurance Motorsport series, as well as for the other projects that are currently being developed by Kiloton. What is certain is that this is not the ideal situation, and it's not exactly reassuring. Nacon will hold a conference on March 4th, 2026, to present new games and update on current licenses and future updates, including for Test Drive Unlimited Solar Crown. While waiting for the court's decision, things are continuing more or less as usual. To finish, I wanted to talk to you about what's also happening over at Maverick Games. Remember, that was Mike Brown's team who left Playground Games. Playground Games is the studio that develops Forza Horizon. When Forza Horizon 5 was released, Mike Brown, who was the development director of Forza Horizon 5, left Playground Games and founded a new video game studio, Maverick Games. At the time, he explained that he left Playground Games to found his own studio because he felt too limited in his creativity at Playground Games. Forza Horizon had a successful formula that Xbox and Playground didn't want to take too many risks, not to stray too far from the beaten path, to avoid losing the position that makes Forza Horizon a game with broad appeal and great success. It brings in a lot of money after all. He left to create his own studio, Maverick Games, and he explained that he wanted to make a game that would be a Forza Horizon killer, meaning a game capable of competing with Forza Horizon, an open-world racing game that, unlike Forza Horizon, would offer a real narrative arc. That's something you can definitely criticize Forza Horizon for. There's never been a real story, the dialogues are weak, and the characters forgettable. Apparently, there's no real progression either. Maybe Horizon 6 will change that. Maverick Games wanted to stand out on that front. Naturally, with drive, creativity, and ambition, they needed a matching publisher. And that's what happened. Amazon Games, which is a huge company, offered to fund this game to create a AAA racing title to compete with Forza Horizon. Even though Amazon has made a lot of bad games, having Amazon backing you up was still the guarantee of having an almost unlimited budget to develop these games. We just learned today that Amazon is dropping the project. It's as simple as that. Amazon has decided to keep developing, publishing, and funding video games, but not this one. They prefer to focus on other projects like Tomb Raider or Luna. As a result, Maverick Games, which always has a lot of ideas and ambition, doesn't really have funding anymore. We don't know how far along the game's development was, but we do know it had begun, and Maverick Games is seeking a new publisher. The good news is project director Mike Brown, he doesn't seem worried, saying on social media that the end of one story is the start of another. He'll share more about this and Maverick Games' future in a podcast. If there's interesting news tomorrow, I'll discuss it in a video. Otherwise, we'll wait. In the meantime, we've covered the main news of the day about the world of racing video games. We might also have some Forza Horizon 6 news in the coming hours and days. So, make sure to subscribe and don't hesitate to follow me on Twitch for the upcoming live streams. There will be a lot starting from Friday. Turn on notifications, don't hesitate to follow me on Twitch, and to use Prime. To support my channel for free, I'm also sharing my instant gaming link if you want to give my channel a little boost by buying your games for less. And listen, I'll see you tomorrow for the next one. Bye.